The graphic plotting capabilities of OpenTracks are actually fairly advanced. What I want to show you here this time is the graphics, the plotting that goes along with this particular video. Here we have a gentleman who is punching, and so we go to the graphs, and if I want to plot something, well, first I have to select what to plot. So I can select markers, I can select lengths, I can select angles. Generally, when you're talking about markers, you're dealing with linear kinematics, energetics. For lengths, you have length kinematics, and for angles, you have angular kinematics, so orientation, angular velocity, and angular acceleration. So if I just have that one selected and I try to go plot, well, it's going to give me a warning telling me that I haven't selected anything. So let's go ahead and do the X position. I'll go ahead and plot that, and there it is. So that shoulder front marker really isn't a very exciting thing to plot. On the other hand, I might want to plot the wrist. Let's look at that. So if I click plot, oh, still haven't selected anything. Let's go back and select that. Let's try that again. Plot, there it is. That's much more interesting. So you can see that I have a largely linear trend here, and then it tapers off and slows down at the end. Now, OpenTracks provides for several options for fitting. If I wanted to do a fit, I could go here and say, all right, let's do a linear, quadratic, cubic, or sinusoid. So I could do that, and I could do the plot. Now, most of you are looking at this and saying, geez, that's really not a great way to do plotting, because these points over here are problematic. They skew that curve. You're really interested in maybe the velocity over most of that most of the trip of the wrist. So let's go ahead and let's look at the options here. So for example, actually, before I do that, if I mouse over here, I see that that is 0.18. So I might want to go from here. Let's show it this way. So not 0.22, let's go to 0.18, and then I'm going to do it again. So you can see actually this is a much better fit. We have an R squared of 0.999, and the velocity is actually 5.633 meters per second based on the slope of the graph. So this is actually one of the tools that you can use. Now I want to introduce some other tools here. Let's turn that off, and let's go back to options. So if you want to get back to your regular range and you don't know what exact data point you're using, just hit reset range and you're good. Click OK, and there's our original graph. Now I have all kinds of options here, so I could plot if I need to. I want to make note that when you start getting into kinetics and energetics, your markers need to have mass. If they have no mass, all of these values here are going to basically be zero. So do keep that in mind. If you send me an email and you say, hey, I'm plotting all of my kinetics, I keep saying the wrong one, and I'm getting a zero value, first thing I'm going to say is, does your marker, does the object that you plan on plotting have mass? So anyhow, here we are. What other options can you get? Well, of course, you can plot multiple at once. So if I do that, I'm going to get the X position of all of them. So you can see the elbow, joint center, and the electron process track together. The shoulder, distal marker, it moves, but barely. If you wanted to do a fit, you could do it. We think sometimes when you get more than about 3 markers on a graph, it looks a little bit ugly. Let's take that one off. And so if you did a plot this way, not that the linear fit's appropriate, but you'll see that all of the fits are done. So let's turn that off. Now, you'll note down here that it says Store Plots. I want to just give you a preview here. In the Reports tab, every single plot that I have created here, every single one is actually, let's bring this a little wider, I condensed it for some reason, is actually available. So you can see all the plots that you've created in the past until you uncheck store plots and then do a new plot, and then that register or that buffer over here in reports will get cleared. All right, so now what? Other things you might want to keep in mind here with the plotting here. Well, there is using OpenTracks to control the plotting. There also is using JSVG. This is the background graphics library that was written for OpenTracks. These graphs are all SVG, so for example, I can double click on that, and when I double click on that, I can do things like change the ranges here. Let's say that I want my Y maximum to be 1.5, and I click Save. It'll change the range. Now, please be careful, those of you who are intending to do reports. The graphs that you see here are different than the graphs that you see here. These guys are a little bit different. How can you tell? Well, if you right-click on a graph, remember this is a browser-based application, you can look into this frame, view frame info, and in fact it will tell you exactly what file that is if you ever want to get it in some other application. Why is that important? Well, really, if I want to make a change as before, so let's say I'm here and I wanted to change that to 1.5, it's on this reports page that I need to make that change. So if I double click, set that to 1.5, and then click Save, yes, you will definitely see some of that. Click Allow, and then it will change it. That graph will end up in the report. If you make a change over here and then you plot something else, you're probably not going to see what you want. So anything you want to be persistent, make your changes on this report page, and then if you want that graph to stick around longer than your session, actually create a report. And then once you've created and named a report, that graph will be there. Other things you can do here, you can, of course, if you really want to, you can change these titles, you can shift them up or down or whatever. You can do some shifting of this if you really need to. And you can, in fact, do some advanced zooming. Again, if you want this to hold, so let's go to the Reports tab. If you want this to hold, you want to do it from here. So let me do Control Z. I'm pushing these at the same time, and then I'm going to click. And now it's saying move mouse to extend selection. So if I go back over the blue, nothing happens. If I want to go up and down, I stay to the right. If I want to go left, I go that way. So let's say I really wanted to zoom here. I then click again. It says replot and zoom to selection. Okay. And so it'll do that. One of the cool things about these graphs is that their data are persistent, which is to say that if you look at this, I'm going to do a right click, this frame, view frame source. Let's bring that in. If you right click that frame and you look in here, what's really going on is, well, look, you've got all the data in those variables. Now if we go down here, how many series are there? 3 series. I have 3 X series, 3 Y series. It's all in JavaScript. So you could, if you need to, harvest that data directly. All right, speaking of data, let's say you want to get this data outside. Anything that you've selected here, if you click Save, so it says Save data from all checked boxes to ASCII tab delimited file. If you go ahead and do that, it just then says, all right, what do you want to call it? Okay, data to save. .text. It's a text file. Save. Alright, so it tells me that it's creating it, and then if I really want to go and look at it, I could then go and start up whatever your file manager happens to be on your operating system, and somewhere around here, I've got a ton of videos here, somewhere around there, if it gives me a refresh, I should see there it is. And so what you'll see is you'll see time. Here you go. You see time, each marker that was selected, the exposition. So elbow joint center exposition electron on process exposition, wrist exposition, because really all I selected was the exposition. If you have multiple things selected, let's go ahead and do that. Let's say I have x, y, velocity. Let's say I do that and I say save. Let's overwrite that file. Data to save. Replace. Okay. It sometimes does that. Let's try that again, just in case. Data to save to .text. All right. So now when we go there, let's actually see if it wrote to begin with. Nope. So it's having a problem overwriting that. So make sure you choose a unique name. So let's go here, open it up. And there it is. So it does it in order. X, all the X positions, then the Y positions. And it gives you as much precision as you can handle. So it is up to you to do the rounding. So if you really prefer to work in a spreadsheet, you can do so. But this does do that kind of export. So finally, if you want to take all the graphs that you've done and you want to create a report with it, you can either do it from here or you can do it from here. And you simply decide which ones of these graphs you really want to include, and then click Create. I will save that for another video.